play to their advantage because they're now going to play like they've got nothing to lose, right? Even themselves have admitted there's no pressure on them. They're the underdog here.
Well, we'll find out. We jump into our first series of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Perth Ground Zero, Sydney Raw, and although it may be stacked on Ground Zero, you have to say for Sydney Raw, they've shown their experience, their skill, but Justice Robo will get the first goal of the day.
And they have not wasted any time opening that account as well. And it's a good one for Sydney Raw in the sense that that's a complete pressure relief from them. They've now scored. They're the opening scorer, and they need to work themselves into this match, but we haven't seen enough yet.
But you got to remember for Sydney Raw as well, they've got a bit of experience himself on Justice Robo, and Perth Ground Zero had a 3-0 last week, but took it to Game 5 in Sydney Raw against the Chiefs, so we're definitely not expecting too much right here to kind of be a stomp out. Perth Ground Zero on the defensive once again. Sirix will get the clear, but under a bit of pressure from Perth Ground Zero. We'll go through the midfield. That demo should open things up. Sicky, open net. It'll be equalised quite quickly.
They did not waste any time getting that ledger squared, and tell you what, just great build-up play there. That demolition obviously played a factor, but there was nobody home for Sydney Raw. The defence just wasn't there at all, so they need to make sure that they're not taking their foot off the accelerator figuratively and literally.
Well, Siki will run into the ball, and for Perth Ground Zero, going to bring him to that stability point. As on the backboard, there's an opening. Sirix, a light touch, but it's still right in front of net. The shot there for change goes wide. Sirix will get the clear in the corner. Now for Justice Robo, the challenge won. Bring it around to the corner again. Delusion gets up to the ball, but a light touch should mean change to come in, but he paces it. He waits for the 50-50. He wins it over it, pinches out in front of net, but Sirix fast to the ball and gets an easy clear with Perth Ground Zero. They can work with this. It'll hit the backboard, and Ghost hasn't got the touch, but neither has Perth Ground Zero, and an opportunity missed there for the Perth side.
Yeah, it was a nice call that nobody was actually coming in for that, so Ghost just pulling out of that one. But in terms of now for Ground Zero, they're just working that ball up the field. You can see they're aiming for that backboard. They're aiming for those passing plays as well. And once they get going with that, it looks so dangerous in front of goals. As we said, Delusion mechanically quite gifted as well. He's not someone you want to give the freedom to operate.
Yeah, but that demolition in response, that stops the aggression from Perth Ground Zero. They had an opportunity on the net, one that probably would have gone in, but Sydney Raw responding very, very well. Justice Robo will come up aggressively, but the pinch there, I don't think Sirix really wanted that. Justice Robo will cross it to the other side. And for Ghost, he comes in. Change, missed the ball. Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
That's an open one, but it doesn't go in. Hits the side post, and Sydney Raw, they stay alive.
That was a great job.
Somehow they come close. Now this gives them the setup, and Sirix goes high for the ball, which is a good call, and it'll be brought right back in for Sydney Raw. Sitting in front of this net, their offense just does not stop.
That was a close call for them too, and it was dealt with quite well, just pushing that ball out of the way of Sirix, so doing a good job of making sure that it was a mistake, but it wasn't converted on. And that's one thing the Ground Zero are going to do in these sorts of matches, is they're going to punish you for their mistakes. So you need to be making sure that you don't make any of them, particularly with players such as Delusion, as we said, but Sirix as well. We said that experience is going to come into play. He's a guy that knows how to close out games, but more importantly, he knows how to start them.
He definitely does. The conflict from Ghost will win over and again for Perth Ground Zero. Beating Justice Robo in the net, and they just can't get past him. Change now, rotates back in, but there's an opening for Delusion. Ghost jumps up, gets to the ball first. Sirix up the field, Delusion commits first. It's a good touch, but Justice Robo again. A brick wall in front of that net, and for Sydney Raw, their defense is a lot of improvement this week.
So one thing I've noticed too about Delusion, if he can't get that shot off, he's always looking for that next pass, always looking for that next play. And the vision to create something out of that is something that, you can't really coach that. It's something that comes naturally. And in terms of how he's playing right now, you can see the pressure he's putting on. And you give him, as we said, too much room to operate. He's going to take it and he's going to run with it. Unfortunate
touch there from Justice Robo. He's passing it back to Ghost, but Delusion just too quick to the ball, and Ghost didn't see that one coming. So Perth Ground Zero take the lead in game 1. Minute 50 to go, and I'm actually quite surprised Sydney Raw giving them a run for their money. And I think there's a lot of opportunity here. See if Perth Ground Zero can hold out on the defense. It's been the only condition. Sydney Raw having some shots, but now in front of net again. Sirix, he won't get down to the ball. Justice Robo there first. Change, follows it through and will bounce down with it. No big touch. It will still be a shot, but a save away. Perth Ground Zero, again, coming close to missing out.
The teamwork from Ground Zero is impressive, but that shot on goal forced a save out of Siki as well. So they're doing good work in the defence, as well as obviously the attack too, but Sydney Raw, they're going to be looking to the experienced players right now, like Justice Robo, to get things done. As we said, there's experience on the Ground Zero side, but it also comes in tons as well for Sydney Raw too.
It was such a good shot from Ghost as well. Hits in that top 90, but a good save, nevertheless, from Perth Ground Zero. Zerix still hanging back, and they're leaving one member in defense. They don't have to push forward. Harsh to say, but Perth Ground Zero have just taken full control of game number 1. 2-1, 50 seconds remaining. A good clear, but Zerix still there, playing the defensive position that he was always known for. Time's running out. Sydney Raw have a last opportunity here as they're in front of net in that goal square. Ghost runs up as well, but they just can't get it through, and Delusion has the run back with Sicky at his heels, and Justice Robo, a close call, but it's not over just yet. From this corner, in front of net. Defense still holding out, but they can't turn it into a counter-attack.
Yeah, Justice Robo just missing that touch as well, which could have actually set up another attacking play. But they're doing a good job of dealing with the pressure here. But open net potentially for Delusion. Could he get there first? No. Couldn't quite deal with it. Didn't have the boost to do so. But Sicky now, again, putting a lot of pressure on. Sydney Raw have done themselves a world of credit here. They've put the pressure back onto Perth Ground Zero. Ground Zero are playing confidently though. Even though the scoreline might not reflect their dominance last week, they're passing out from the back. They're looking quite comfortable.
Well, they come close, but the last play from Sydney Raw does not work, so Perth Ground Zero, they'll take game number 1, and I have to say, maybe not as convincingly as we talked about. A 3-0 Career Lord predicted, but I have to say, if it's like that, I do not see a 3-0 in the cards.
No, it was much closer than we actually anticipated, and the analysts anticipated as well. But full credit to Sydney Raw. They're playing like a team that there's no pressure on them, and that is the case. Everybody's written them off. They're here to prove a point to themselves, and they were the opening goal scorers as well. So almost immediately off the back there, the pressure was relieved here, and Justice Robo just completely capitalising on an open net as well.
But I mean, they had lots of those shots in that game. Sydney Raw, the defense only just came through from Perth Ground Zero each and every time. Be curious to know their shots, because for Sydney Raw there was a lot of opportunities, and this is what we didn't see last week. We saw them kind of a bit more defensive against the Sydney Chiefs. They have to go hard against Perth Ground Zero, and there's no way you can take a back foot when you're going up against someone like Delusion, Sirix, and Sicky, all 3 experienced players.
Well, that's it, and even as you said, Delusion now is an experienced player because he's proved to himself that he can actually perform in these sort of conditions, and they're not easy. They're not easy. Last week he was a nervous wreck, and he delivered still.
Well,
this week,
to be blunt, I guess, yeah.
But this week, the pressure's off, even in terms of the atmosphere. He's been through the routines now. He's got his pre-game set. He's had time to drink it through in that regard. But now in terms of getting the job done, they've got to finish off Sydney Raw here in those 3 games because, as we said, the analysts have predicted it. There's a lot of pressure on the analyst, I understand, in these sorts of this show in particular. We like to throw our analysts under the bus if they don't get it right.
Just questioning as a side note, Sicky has his headset very far forward on his head. Now, I'm not
thinking.
Well, maybe. But honestly, like, I've been in that boat, and sometimes it can fall down. So, look, honestly, Sicky just needs to pull it back a little bit. But I'm not sure why.
You don't want
just
the
play style. I guess it's play style.
It's hairstyle.
Maybe he doesn't want to ruin the back of his hair, but
we're all conscious of that at some point.
I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Look. For Perth Ground Zero.
Segue.
Yeah, look, they get the first win, but for Sydney Raw, I'm not going to count them out just yet. Justice Robo has had a magnificent performance last week, and now into game 2. Let's see. We know there's some Sydney Raw in the crowd here today, and with that first goal, the support was there. They get the demo on Sicky. The ball goes past. Isn't it an opportunity, actually? Who's coming in? It's changed, but blocked out by Delusion. Justice Robo now going to commit up for the ball, but he's been beaten out. Sicky runs with it, and Ghost great on the defense, but he's run out of boost, so Sirix will get free play with the ball. He'll pass it into the centre field, but Justice Robo used that momentum to push the ball up.
Yeah, great clearance from Robo, just pushing that ball up the field. But right now they need to build something in attack. They're just trying to get that ball onto the backboard, trying to put that ball into the centre here. And there's a shot on goal. It is met well. Delusion again doing a job at the back.
But he can't get there. Close call. Look at that bump that came out from Sydney Raw right in front of net. Ghost is still there, and looks like they've been watching a bit of RLCS. The centre field play right through the middle, as the Chiefs would do. Sicky waiting there, but patience goes to Sirix, Justice Robo coming off the side. He's still committing with the ball. The Sydney Raw, this is a big change of pace. They're committing a lot more, a little bit more risky. Is the reward going to be there? Sicky says no as he goes forward with the ball. Delusion comes in as well, but trying to get that ball through the centre.
Yeah, I like the way that Raw are playing there. In football terms, you call that route 1 football. Route 1 straight up the middle of the field, very direct on goal. But way that Ground Zero are actually approaching things at the moment. Their passing play is certainly on point. They need to just make sure that they put that backboard pressure on. That's a great pass, but no one's there. And Sydney Raw may just capitalise on that. Potentially, if there's no one to meet that path, they just get a reprieve in terms of dealing with that.
But Delusion, again and again. He always finds these openings, and a good pass upfield by Siki, but what really made it there, Mr. Gimnesso, was Delusion getting up to the ball first. Perth Ground Zero say no, will not be challenged. And the first goal goes to them.
Yeah, he beat out Justice Robo there as well, so that speed on the ball. Justice Robo did his best to get there first, but couldn't do so. And there's an open net, potentially. Those just going to hit the backboard, and still, that ball just needs to be dealt with here. Pushed away nicely, but you can see Ground Zero are very direct this game too, in the sense that they are just going to put pressure on goal on the backboard as well. Their passing play has been on point so far. And as we said, the mechanical god Delusion is delivering in that regard.
Well, that wasn't good. Mistouch from Justice Robo. Now in front of net. Siki has the shot, but blocked away by Justice again. Sirix coming in. The dunk's there. He goes over Delusion. Finishes off the ball. And for Perth Ground Zero, that's what comms are all about.
Yeah, you've got to deal with that loose ball once it hits that backboard. Just a great touch there. And Delusion, that is about as easy as it gets for a striker. So his conversion rate now, as we said, is one of the highest in the region, and he's so accurate today.
Just like last week, there's been no change from Perth Ground Zero. Still that dominant play. And 2 goals up in the second game. The pass forward, Siki's there, but Justice Robo with the intercept goes now up to the ball as well. Beautiful shot, but it hits the crossbar. The finisher from Justice Robo goes wide. And Sydney Raw are just getting so close, and they just keep getting put back on the defense after these magnificent plays.
Yeah, they're doing a great job in the build-up there. It's just that conversion they're missing out on. And against a team like Ground Zero, you need to make sure that you convert them, because you don't get a lot of chances against a team that is so defensively competent. But at the moment, there is a chance here for a play. That ball is pushed into the middle. No one to really put pressure on it, but they're a player down for just a moment.
It's not over yet, because Ghost and Justice Robo, they run into each other, and some of those almost double commits cost them. Sirix the ball himself, nicely played, and although Sydney Raw are coming close, Perth Ground Zero are just making short work out of these passing plays.
That little touch there, just to pass it beyond the player, sets himself up so nicely, it pops up and he just pushes it into the back of an open net. Great work there, great anticipation as well. And it's just those little things, those little touches that seem so simple, but they do require some vision. They do also require some mechanical skill, which really is the difference between a lot of these players at the top level. It's just that anticipation and mechanical skill.
A lot of that backboard pressure being built up by Sydney Raw, but again, blocked out the midfield as Sirix comes back in. Delusion from the corner. Leading goal scorer is at it again. Siki doesn't have any boost, but it doesn't matter. I think Justice Robo, excuse me, is actually beaten out in the net.
Yeah. That is a fast shot though. Siki very direct in that regard. Not a lot of time for Robo to turn around, unfortunately, and that is so direct from Perth Ground Zero right now. They're playing with the confidence in Game 2. Game 1, different story. Ground Zero have come out of the gates firing here in Game 2, and they're certainly putting Sydney Raw to the sword right now.
You got to remember, for Sydney Raw, they've had ample opportunities. It's just getting those goals in. That's the difference here. But Justice Robo back on the defense. He misses the ball. Delusion brings it back, and Siki will come in off that wall, center the ball, change, quick to it, but goes to the midfield. Now for Justice Robo, a good shot on net for Delusion. For an easy block, now the passing play upfield, intercepted by Change, he goes wide. And Perth Ground Zero again, hold on the defense, opportunity set up, but Sydney Raw coming close.
And just looking to get those passes going, again those 1-2, Siki is actually blocked there, but he's going to try and maintain pressure. It's actually Sirix that does a good job putting that ball into the backboard, but all it does is just hold things up in midfield for the moment. It allows them to reset, go get some boost, and the pressure now is on Sydney Raw to try and deal with that ball. So Siki just looking to work that ball through the midfield here. But as you said, the difference between these two teams right now is that conversion rate. It's not like Sydney Raw are not getting in front of goals. It's just the fact that Perth Ground Zero are so decisive in front of net.
Yeah.
So much difference between these teams in terms of conversion rate as well. So interesting to see when that scoreboard comes up at the end, what the shots on goal versus what the actual conversion rate is.
No, for Perth Ground Zero, you're absolutely right. But it's always Delusion. The accuracy on that man is insane. And in week 2, he promises to deliver once again. But for Sydney Raw, I have to question, coming into week 2, there's been some growth, there's been some changes. But where do we need to go in Game 3? We need to see that accuracy. And now in front of net, their last goal is blocked out. The shot's there. As you said, they're just not going in. 4-0. And Perth Ground Zero, as soon as this ball lands, that'll be game 2 dusted. And Sydney Roar on the verge of trying to reverse sweep.
Yeah, Sydney Roar would have taken some confidence out of game 1, but they needed to carry through into game 2. And it clearly didn't in some instances, because the pressure was simply piled on from Ground Zero. The goals kept on coming there. I mean, look at the shots on goal there. Ghost obviously getting 3 shots on goal, unconverted. Justice Robo too was in the play with 2 shots directly on goal that were unconverted. And, I mean, that could have been the game back in equilibrium.
Well, Perth Ground Zero came into it confident. What did Sirix say? He said, nah, there's nothing to look over. I mean, a 3-0, sure, that's good. But even the Chiefs, when they get a 3-0, they say, look, we still need to review. Perth Ground Zero came in confident, and you can see why. Game 2 was an absolute blowout.
That's right. I mean, it's perfectionism, isn't it, in terms of what you said about the Chiefs? It's looking at the games, and despite doing so well, they still look for things to improve. So, I mean, for Ground Zero, an improvement on game 1 here. Certainly that decisiveness in front of net as well. You can see just that little touch from Sirix as well.
Look, that was just beautiful.
So nice.
The passing plays from Siki and Sirix, and then Delusion, usually the finisher, but sometimes they change it up, and it's that unpredictability that Sydney Roar are struggling with right now. For Perth Ground Zero, they're coming in strong with these shots, and I think there's an issue that needs to be addressed. However, before we go into game 3, we're going to throw to a short break, and when we return, see if Perth Ground Zero can get another 3-0.
Welcome back to Rocket League, Gfinity Elite Series. We're having a look right now at one of the sweet goals just scored by Ground Zero. Bam, there goes Delusion. He's been on fire so far. You're watching the Gfinity Elite Series. We're live on One and Twitch. We hope you're enjoying the action as we're about to head into Game 3 of Perth Ground Zero and Sydney Roar. So far, Ground Zero dominating pretty hard. Can the Sydney Roar come back? Let's find out right now. Over to you, Jim and Jake.
Thank you very much, you beautiful human, and welcome back. We're on to game number 3, and I think for Perth Ground Zero, they're feeling confident, but don't forget, Sydney Roar have been in this position before, and they've taken it to a game 5.
They have, but here's the difference. Opposition, in terms of Ground Zero, very, very stiff opposition. So you can see they came into it really confident. They're playing with confidence in game 2, and they're going to be looking to extend, I guess, the good work that they've done in game 3 here. So it's important the Sydney Roar get off to a good start. They make sure they make those small adjustments, those changes as well. And as we said, it's just that conversion in front of goal that's letting them down at times as well, because a goal here to relieve at least some pressure would be great for them, and certainly be looking to players like Ghost to convert in front of goal as well. We saw him, he's quite a dynamic player as well. But Justice Robo, the most experienced man on this lineup, looking to lead from that front.
Well, Delusion, he's got experience himself now on the back foot, and even though he's the least experienced out of the 3, Siki and Cyrix, they're always setting him up. Delusion will get bumped out of the way, but Sydney Roar, again, they can't get anywhere near that net just yet. For Delusion, gets the runaway Ghost. He's going to have the one-on-one. Beaten out. Delusion does it again.
Yeah, you can't give him any room to run at all, whether that's in the air or on the ground here. And that's just a great touch to bring that ball down as well, take all the sting out of it, control it, and then push it past on the inside. So he's definitely feeling it right now. And he, as we said, is a player that you can't let run at all, because his confidence when it's brimming, he's so good in front of goal. Robo
doesn't have enough boost to complete that transaction into the net. And unfortunately for Delusion, that shot won't connect either, but 2 quick shots now for Sydney Roar. Change coming out the field. Ghost is in the midfield, but someone has to get back now as Siki and Delusion running up for the ball. Ghost gets demoed, and Justice Robo, one of the last lines of defense, as Ghost is not in the right position, and again, Delusion not there. A close call, but maybe Change can make work out of it. He hits it over the top. Delusion there in front of net. But again, cleared away, and Justice Robo defends it, clears it, but again, Siki getting time with the ball.
It's just a few tense moments in front of goal too, as the pressure that Ground Zero is starting to build, the way that they're pushing that ball onto the backboard. A backboard pass is so hard for a defender to defend as well, because there are settings there, like the ball cam, you can lose that ball from your line of sight completely as a defender. So nice little pop attempt over the top there, but it's met well by Change. And you can see Ground Zero doing a great job of just keeping that pressure there, keeping that ball in their opposition's half as well, but also, as we said, it's that conversion rate too. But
it's passing play though. The third touch by Delusion hits the backboard, and Siki doesn't commit. Has the shot wide. At Perth Ground Zero, they're just back into the swing of things as usual. The team was undefeated, the only undefeated team in week 1. Will they do it again? 1 goal, 3 minutes left remaining now on the defense for Delusion. He's going to run out of boost, but he's done enough with the ball. Justice Robo, the pass over to Change, but he's not ready for it. And now out of the corner. Siki will miss the second touch, but Cyrix does not. Angled perfectly.
Yeah, that is just a great conversion there. Great shot there from Cyrix as well. But the passing play, I mean, Delusion doing a great job of just that double touch off the wall, getting himself that Spider-Man position. Just, it's so silky to watch as well, because he's always two steps ahead. It feels like that. And he knows what's going on. So the reads from him are fantastic. As we said, with Cyrix and Siki, they're 2 experienced players that do a lot of work off the ball too. So their passing play has really come into light here in game 3 so far. But Sydney Roar, they still have some venom in them, and if they can get their passing game going and just deal with what's being thrown at them from Ground Zero, they can work themselves back into this game.
I think right now, caught in the web of Perth Ground Zero, 2-0 start, and the demo there on to Change. Set them up nicely once more. Justice Robo doesn't get the bounce. Cyrix has the dunk, but goes wide again. And the only feeling right here now for Sydney Roar is the fact that they have 2 minutes to work with, and there are some misses by Perth Ground Zero. Change brings it close to Cyrix with a good save. Justice Robo brings it back in. He gets it around 2, but Siki, the last line of defense, manages to work out. And Sydney Roar, even less shots this game, not getting as close as they did before.
No, they're not. And even then, Justice Robo had to be so direct, because he knew that there were, Change had to be so direct because he knew there was no one else up with him at the moment. They're only just going, collecting boost, getting out of defense. So for them, it's very much just a defensive game right now. But that is
the opening. Yeah. There it is. Ghost gets the first one for Sydney Roar. 1 minute 30, definitely doable, but Delusion not the touch he wanted, and Ghost capitalised finally. Right place, right time for Sydney Raw.
Yeah, uncharacteristic too as well. It's a bad pass at the back, was punished. You can't let a player like Ghost, as we said, one of the most, I guess, he has the most potential out of a lot of the players up and coming.
Yeah.
And watching him grow throughout this competition is going to be fantastic, because I can already see improvement in week 2 over week 1. And can he get that cut in? No, but it's backboarded. And I'm keen to see his development throughout this league.
Well, as we're talking about Ghost, unfortunately 3 members of defense, Sydney Raw, running out of time here still. 1 goal is good, but not enough. Change goes past the ball. They're going to leave this place. Xerix as well, Delusion. Ghost going to commit forward. The challenge not really won. Sets up for Siki. As Justice Robo cleans it out, Xerix runs up for the ball. A minute left remaining. 2 games already in the back pocket of Perth Ground Zero. Now with the pass wide, no one there to receive it. Justice Robo, the pass will go to Change, but still 1 out again. Perth Ground Zero still getting up first to the ball. 45 seconds.
A lot of these instances too have Sydney Raw just being beaten out, as you said, to the ball. They're being beaten to the punch. Faster play from Ground Zero in terms of getting on that ball quicker. The passing plays going as well. Nice little touches off the backboard too. And Sydney Raw, as we said, they can get themselves back into this. There's only 1 goal of difference, and there's 30 seconds to do it though. That's what works against them in terms of time, is the fact that they haven't been so decisive in terms of their passing. They haven't been so decisive in front of goal, but could be all over here.
Well, Delusion doesn't get the double touch for 15 seconds. Xerix sets it up for Siki. A light touch again, and waiting for Ghost to go past the ball, but he does not. Delusion going to hold it down this end, and I think we're running out of time. Siki says yes, and the last goal won't be scored, but is time enough? You have to say the answer is no. The ball ready to hit the ground. Delusion will help it, and another 3-0 by Perth Ground Zero in week 2.
They've been so, as we said, decisive. I guess Xerix's confidence in the pre-game emanated.
He was right though. Like Xerix said, you know, there's nothing to work on. Another 3-0. Even Courier said 3-0, and by the 3rd game, you could see why Perth Ground Zero shaping up to be one of, if not the most favourite teams. I was going for favourite. Let's go favourite team in the Elite Series.
I mean, look at them at the moment. It's just another day in the office for them as well. I mean, looking at those tallies as well, only 1 shot each. They really didn't get going at all. A lot of defensive work being done by Change in front of goal. But I mean, look at the difference there in terms of the creation.